Your dad wrote in his book that he produced the fourth show himself, with Vince Russo adding things here and there. And in the Torch, it was reported that Russo and Ed Ferrara talked for the first time in close to 2 years at this show. Do you know what their relationship was like, or how they had a falling out, or if they even did?
See, and I don't recall that. And Vince and Ed, I mean, look, even in their heyday of WWF, when they were, Vince 1, Ed 2, they didn't always see eye to eye, but they always worked together and fluently. But them having a falling out. Now, I will say this: when WCW shut down, and if you weren't a wrestler, a talent, lots of people just went in their different directions. I mean, Keith Mitchell, I remember having one of my first calls with him, and he's like, well, I think this production guy's doing baseball. Well, I think he got on full time with Turner. Well, I think this guy moved out west and he's going to be pitching reality shows. Everybody went their separate directions. I kind of feel like them not talking
It's just that.
It's just, I don't think they had a falling out. I don't recall that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there is a thing, and everybody, and I know I don't think you've ever had, I guess you have. In the real world, Jeff, we all have what we call work friends. And so that doesn't necessarily mean they come over to your house or we're doing holidays with them, but we spend a lot of time with them through the week, and we go to lunch with them, and we know about their family and their kids, but we're not best of friends. We're quote unquote work friends. I think that's okay. And it sounds like that's what this was.
Yeah. So you saying that I don't know what a work friend is?
I'm just saying, these people listening to this are like me. They go to a fucking office every day. I mean, I'm going to go stretch today, and I'm going to eat real good and do chest and buys. I mean, that's your work day. I mean, these are regular people like me listening to this, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my regular work days starting a wrestling company is, there's more than back and bias to that, but I get it. But yeah, I was my recollection. Vince and Ed didn't have a falling out, but they went their separate ways. They both didn't live in Atlanta. Vince moved his family from Stanford down to Atlanta. They really liked it, and that's where he was raising his 3 kids.
So let's talk about, where we are next. There's some controversy leading to the NWA title match with Ken Shamrock and Amori. Amori was scheduled to face Shamrock and put him over, but Noah, that's Pro Wrestling Noah, NOAH, a big Japanese promotion at the time, refuses to let Amori lose. What do you remember about this situation? I can't believe that that's even a thing in 2002, but I guess it is. Wins and losses still matter.
Well, and that's really getting into the weeds. And you talk about granular. It's so granular. I don't have a complete recollection, but I do recall Harley Race was a conduit to Noah.
Wow.
Noah. Right?
That's cool.
Yeah, no. And Harley, man, God, what a sweetheart of a guy, and we worked together. And look, he's got his brother, the Long brothers. I mean, it goes back to the 60s of Harley having a connection to the Tennessee territory. So anyway, and me and Harley, I went up and worked for him multiple times for his promotion. But Harley was one of those guys that I always obviously took his advice and guidance and recommendations. But he also had that relationship with Noah, if I recall accurately. But I don't remember that wins and losses. Me and you have joked offline about.
Yeah. Wins and losses, how stupid it is.
But just how I don't even understand the logic, when you really get deep into it, but that's for another podcast.
Well, let's talk about your man, Sonny Siaki. When I first saw the show, the very first time, I thought, wow, this guy's going to be a star. But a month later, it's reported in the Torch that old Sonny has himself some heat in the locker room. And also, allegedly, according to the Torch, he's got heat with management for quote unquote going into business for himself. What do you remember about some of the early challenges you had with Sonny Siaki, and what do you think his upside and potential was? I felt he was going to be a big star.
Well, I love Sonny, and doing these podcasts and the startup of TNA, I brought, there's been some feelings that I got like the hospital, like, oh my God, Conrad, do we really have to go through this pain?
Right.
What a disaster. But talking about guys like Sonny Siaki in the dressing room, and I can remember hearing the feedback. Sonny never had any heat with me or management I love a talent that believes in himself. And Sonny was one of those guys so green that he didn't even know how to be cocky. but he was cocky and was arrogant and carried himself in such a good manner. I mean, I thought there was huge box office in Sonny. I thought the way he carried him, a hell of an athlete. He was one of the young guns that I said, we're going to go with this guy. But him having heat with other guys in the dressing room, I always, to this day, I kind of like that, because that's somebody that's walking in the dressing room and he's rubbing some folks the wrong way with his mannerisms and with his thought processes. And if he can get heat in the dressing room, you get heat with the people in the arena. You just have to control that. You got to be professional, got to do business. But I like someone who comes in a dressing room and gets noticed. Now you get noticed for the wrong reasons, but Sonny got noticed, in my opinion, especially in those early days, like some other guys, for the right reasons.
Talk me through what you're saying here, because it sounds like you mentioned, well, Sonny was green at the time. So Sonny, it sounds like, and again, I don't know, I'm asking for clarification, he wasn't following quote unquote wrestler etiquette. He didn't have good locker room etiquette, because wrestling is a weird little nuanced subculture where, you know, people have quote unquote heat, and hell, they don't even know, because there's these weird little unspoken things you're supposed to do or not do. And he may not have known that, or he just came in and was it something else?
I mean, again, I wasn't in the dressing room all the time, every show, like sat in there. I was doing a bunch of other things, but you hit it. There have been guys, and not just Sonny, that they have a ton of heat and they really don't even understand why they have heat, because they hadn't been around the business. That's
right.
Sonny had heat. He didn't even know why. A guy like Kid Cash was a phenomenal young talent, but he wasn't as young as Sonny. Kid Cash was seasoned. He had heat. And he didn't give a damn.
But Kid Cash, and again, I love Kid Cash. We're friends on social media.
Yeah.
But what I've read and seen and shoot interviews and all that, Kid Cash just runs his mouth. He'll just tell you what he thinks. I think there's a difference between, like, and I don't know, but you didn't shake hands with everybody. Well, fuck, he didn't know he had to shake, that type of thing, versus, hey, good luck on that. Or, you know,
fried chicken. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But yes, yeah, that's Sonny. He was so green in the business. He didn't understand the nuances, what you're saying, but he did have an air about him that as he began to learn the nuances, he just, that wasn't about him. He came in, he wanted to get over. It's just sort of, I don't want to go use that proverbial phrase, the it factor. Sonny had some of that it factor, that he just had some walking, talking, I'm going to smack that guy's grin off his face just because the way he looks, but in a good way.
I got you.
He just had some box office straight from day one.